Hello, Dr. Harris. This is Susan Asari. I will try hard and not have my accent getting this too much because you may not be able to hear my words or hear me clearly at the end of this video. I am in my closet hiding from my children, my two toddlers, um, so that they don't interrupt me. And sorry, forgive me, I have this cold going on. Um, so forgive me if I cough in between, I have issues. But I termed my presentation report on mental health study. I am going to attach a PowerPoint, quite detailed PowerPoint to it at the end of the video. So I have three people or professors that did a study on a topic. The topic seemed weird, but it's something that has been on my heart, and I've been trying to think and find answers in my head. So I just wanted to research and see if there has been any research done or in that regard, which is neurosciences behind behaviors toward opposite sexes, which is sexism, sexual harassment, we can name it, rape, and all those, immoral behaviors. It has been on the news, and sometimes you hear, you wonder, what in the world is going on? What were these people thinking? Why were they going after women? The things, those that we hear, it does not even, the environment does not even call for it sometimes. At workplaces, work environment, some people want to trade in, want to ask you to give them your body, or to, be in that, be have that act with you in that manner, just to give you favors, a job and a opportunity. And sometimes it just doesn't sound is right to me. But we live in a crazy world, so we kind of just take it a day at a time and see what we can do to either minimize it, or I don't know, we can't stop this. So I have three professors. I have Dr. Mina Sikara, assistant professor of Harvard University, who did a research into this aspect. Dr. Susan T. Fiske, who is a professor at Princeton University. Dr. Jennifer L. Eberhardt, who is also a Standard University and a MacArthur Fellow. So the problem of the study was to identify the effect of perceivers, sexist attitude on association of an agency with and neural responses to images of sexual and clothed men and women. So, like I said before, when people see images, even okay, so let's go into porn movies or porn images. There have been people that have been obsessed about porn images, and I ask them, why do they even have desires for that? What is the mental element? What is it behind this, that people will be obsessed or be addicted to such images or movies, and kind of transfer it into the real world and disturb women or even sometimes men. I know men do suffer those things, but it's kind of limited, but it still exists. There is the another problem is breakthrough in rape culture, and the other one is nurture versus nature attitude. So the hypothesis here was that the first study was that the participants who were higher on hostile sexism would be faster at associating first person verb with sexualized women. The hypothesis of the second hypothesis is that the sec was that sorry, participant with high HS scores, the part of the brain associated with social cognition and mentalizing had less activity when passively looking at images of sexualized women. Sorry, forgive me. So the methodology was that there was the first two blocks of the test that were trial blocks. The next block, the participant distributed between first person verb on one side of the screen and of the computer. So it was a computer system used, and the sexualized women on the other side. And there was the also the clothed women along with the third person verb were kept on the other side. So this where we are talking about three sides, and in five blocks on sexualized females and clothed females were to be separated. The six and seven blocks were the final blocks where it was repeated. This sounds weird in the video, but I think the PowerPoint will explain it better. So in the second study, there were 22 male students as participants of this research, and there were 20 images per stimulus class, which consisted of sexualized men and women, and a well-clothed, I would say conservatively clothed men and women. And the students were shown in these images, and there was an MRI done on these students after they viewed the images, which makes sense. It will communicate to the researcher what brain activities happens when people view images of such nature, either sexually or inappropriately dressed or naked women, and then clothed women. And I will assume here that there wouldn't be much happening with those images of clothed women and women. I would not expect, but hey, you never know. People can be crazy and things can go on in people's head, and so it doesn't matter what they are seeing or what they are hearing. So after the MRI was done, the findings of the first study revealed that though both women and men were slightly faster in general to couple pictures of clothed feminine object with third person action verb, and sexualized women. Object with first person actions verb, the variance between the two combinations was not that significant. So on the other hand, the second study showed that reveals the picture of sexualized images. So the first study, let me go back and clarify. The first study kind of showed more of the images of those that view the women and men that were clothed. So the second images were that of those that were not clothed. So in relation with additional three objects, this made the males, feel both agreeable and very aroused in an emotional way. Males remained further most sexually attracted and were also most likely to avoid sexualized females. It was also found that the association amid the HS, along with responses activity that looked at sexualized masculine objects, and found that they were weaker than the correlation in looking at sexualized females target. It doesn't make sense. Right? And I can explain it to you that there were some brain or neural activities whilst these men and women were viewing either images. So the study proved that hostile sexism were more common in men than women. Like I said in earlier on, that men get raped, men get harassed, However, is on women more than it is on men. Like women experience those things more than men do experience it. So I would think that it would be a very weird worst case for a woman to kind of like seriously crazily harass a man. I don't know. But there's a greater hostile sexism result for men indicated that activation of decreased amount of bilateral temporal pulse, posterior cingulate, and MPFC. And in light of taking a look at sexual ladies, showing that more antagonistic demeanors anticipate less unconstrained enactment of the system dependably connected with mentalizing. That's what the conclusion that was made from the study. So let's see what critiques this study have. And I thought when I read the research, I thought they would have done more, how, or written more detail into how the brains reacted, how, what chemicals or neurotransmitters communicated to the body, what were those people thinking through the MRI, what were the detailed changes in the brain. But really they didn't see that. The study was not able to measure the attention given to the stimuli under the MRI scanner. This was one of the major limitations to the study. So I would think that they could have, or maybe that wasn't going to be possible, holding the images or looking at the images whilst being under the MRI scanner. That may have communicated a very different result, because if you remove if a person, or let's say a guy, is looking at an image, at a sexual image, and then after a minute is removed from their side, I would think that the activities in the brain will differ as compared to being the images being removed and the images being watched whilst the brains were being scanned. And the other critique was that limitation there was another limitation, that was that the study did not adequately look at LGBTQ participants, because these people are part of population, and they kind of suffer all these things in the society also. The amount of sexualization given to female sexualized bodies in terms of heterosexual men and homosexual women was not studied. So if you doing a study, I think from I'm not a professor, I'm not a doctor, I am not a neurologist or whatever, but I think that from if you're doing such a study, you should kind of involve all classes of people, LGBTQ, straight people, even conservatives, or not just regular people, just general people. I think that will give a better understanding and a better result to the study that we had here. So if that would have been done by combining or involving LGBTQ participant, it would have provided another aspect of sexuality and broadened the research and the sexualization process. So what happens? What happens when a male sees another male? That what are the brain activities? What happens when a male sees a female, in clothes? What are the brain activities? They are on their flip side. A male sees a female sexually, exposed or naked. What are the brain activities? So I've thought this research kind of was quite limited. So the critique is kind of right. I have my reference below, and again, I will say that the reason why I dived into trying to connect Mental health to sexual activities is what has been going on in the news. And also, what is my extended thinking is what are policies being doing? What policies are being put in place to kind of combat these behaviors, or what part of mental health services is taking care of or is researching into, what could be done to reduce such behaviors, because some of these things even happened in our healthcare field, patient to patient, patient to staff, staff to patient. Is I've heard so many stories that things just does not make sense to me. I am ending here and I am attaching my PowerPoint. Maybe that will give you, Dr. Harris, a clear understanding of my presentation. Have a good evening and have a nice weekend. Thank you.